Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. I'll give you a second. Smash that subscribe button. It helps us get the word out. Crazy support the last couple weeks. Thank you very much. And don't forget to check out our comedy shorts playlist. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok. And don't forget to check us out on Reddit and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We got CFL talk. We got some Winnipeg Jet talk. Of course, we got some Winnipeg Blue Bomber talk. Let's get right into it. Bombers played the Alouettes on Canada Day in an hour and 42-minute delay. But they got the game going, and the Bombers came out victorious. Let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. What did you see that was good from that game?
Defense, and specifically the D-line, Willie Jefferson. Man, was he a force. 3 tackles, 2 sacks, forced fumble, and 1 knockdown. And probably could add another sack. There's a few times where Fajardo slipped away, and one time where he got a hands to the face that did not get called, but we'll digress on that one. But yeah, just an amazing game for Willie Jefferson. Like, he just, having Jeffco back helped open up Willie Jefferson. And to me, that was another good thing, was having Jeffco return. He didn't show up on the stat sheet, Jeffco, but his presence there did enough to open up for Willie Jefferson.
Absolutely. Not just Willie Jefferson. Cam Lawson got 2 sacks. Ricky Walker got to the house. So that D-line played very well. They held Montreal to like a few, I don't know exactly how many, 1 or 2 yard gains in the running game. They just gave up on that thing. You know, on average, Steinbach did okay, but he also fumbled the ball, and they're stuffing him on more than a few occasions. So yeah, props to the D-line. Of course, it's great to have Jeffco back. He stretches the offensive line talent thin. And it's pretty thin as it is on Montreal already. They've given up how many sacks? 15?
Yeah, and they gave up 5 this game. Right. So so that adds to it there. So, but yeah. And they had Fajardo, and Fajardo escaped a few times. Yeah. You know, that they had him for sacks, and he escaped somehow. And I was like, what the heck? So they could have been even more than 5. Yeah.
Fajardo's familiar with that pressure.
Was he ever running for his life again?
Yeah.
Like the Fajardo from last year with Saskatchewan, and that showed up, and he was just, it's hard to tell from the broadcast, you know, what was open in the field, but he was running for his life quickly. I don't know, man. It wasn't a good game for him, but great game for that Bomber D-line.
Yeah, at halftime, he must have been talking to Jason Mize. Like, it doesn't matter where I go, man. It doesn't matter where I go. They keep getting to me. Another good thing was the running game. 183 total. Brady Oliveira breaking 120 for 120. 6.9 average, a smash mouth game, who made big holes, especially on that McRae run for 34 yards. He just saw a hole and just hit it. No one touched him until he got tackled, pretty much. So the running game, and of course the O-line.
Yeah, props to the O-line who came back from last week. They gave up a late sack. And I think it was the first possession where Jeff Gray gave up that pressure, really. And other than that, they were pretty solid. You know, they opened up big holes, and that's what the Bombers leaned on. They leaned on that running game in that second half quite a bit. And it was just an amazing. And to me, Greg McRae, you know, first game in there, I like you say that one run, but he was dynamic on a few other plays that he was in there. He caught the touchdown that got taken back from penalty. I'd like to see a little bit more from this guy, and hopefully he can stay in the lineup somehow. They can figure out. I know he was only in because Adamski was out. Yeah, but they got to keep him in there, man. He brings another dynamic, right? To me, Oliveira and Augustine are almost the same type of runners, down the hill, kind of big guys, right? McRae changes that up, but I know they do that a lot. The plays that he does with Demski too, right? So
yeah, we'll see. Like, if they can definitely keep him in the lineup. He's been in the lineup before, and he's always been a dynamic player on receptions and on running plays too. Another good thing that I saw, I really like specifically the touchdown pass to Wolodarski. You know, we look at Wolodarski, we see him as this big target with the long range who could beat guys by using that catch radius. But that touchdown that he got was pure beauty route running. He went for a go, stopped at around like 7 yards, maybe, took a step in. The dude bit, who was it? Cordell Rogers. Oh, made him look ugly. And then he went to the corner of the end zone, and Claros hit him on that nice touchdown. That was really good. That was a beautiful touchdown.
Yeah. Wolodarski, man, that guy, he doesn't catch that many balls, but when he does, it's always almost a big impact play. Like you say, the touchdown, he had one later in the game where Claros just missed him, stretched out, didn't catch it, and Wolodarski was beating himself up for it. But, you know, even though his chances are he wasn't going to catch that ball anyways. But then Claros went right back to him on the second down play, and he got a big conversion on that play. So that guy, he's he doesn't catch a lot. He doesn't get the same accolades as say a Dalton Schoen does, but he's got such great hands.
He does. Agreed. Is Dalton Schoen the best receiver in the CFL?
No,
Like
he's
he
got to
can,
be.
he can go over the top. He can write. He runs great routes. His hands are crazy. He'll go through the gut. He'll take a big hit and he'll keep going.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to name another receiver who does all of those well and keeps getting up.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's taken some big hits over the first few weeks of the season too. And he keeps on ticking and he can find that opening. And then his touchdown late in the game there, that was huge.
Yeah, and his hands are epic.
Yeah.
Well, his
Oh, yeah.
touchdown, he got behind the defense.
Yeah.
Jeez. Any other good that you noticed in the game?
You know what? I'm going to give one to Brandon Alexander. You know, it was him and Holm got beat deep by Julian Grant on a 69 yarder, I think, right?
Yeah.
But then on the very next play, he read Fajardo and got the interception on the goal line and took it back, went to midfield. And that was a big play because that was, you know, right there. If Montreal scores, it was what, 10-0 at that point, I believe. Mm-hmm. Right. So this led to the Bombers now taking a 17-0 lead after the interception. So that flipped the game, right? It was a 14-point swing right there and big play. He made up for getting beat deep. And then he just, I don't know, film study or whatever, but he was there before the receiver was.
Absolutely. Every time we talk about the Bombers defense and what puts them over the edge in their secondary over other teams, Brandon Alexander always is mentioned. Great play. But Tom, you talk about interceptions. Can I segue into the bad?
Yeah.
4 turnovers by the Bombers is bad. Specifically the uncharacteristic interception late by Zach Caleros. I think they were up 17-0 at that time.
Yeah.
They had the game in hand. It was an unnecessary pass. It was late in the game. No need to take a chance. And it was kind of one of those whoopsies ones. He doesn't do those often. But that one, in addition to the other 3 turnovers, just was kind of bad.
Yeah, especially at the point of the game where you were driving a bit too. You could have salted that game away, and he threw it into, like, I don't know. To me, there was way more Montreal guys there than Bomber guys.
Oh, totally.
I don't know if he trusted his arm way too much, but yeah, it was not a good throw at all.
Any other bad?
The return game special teams wasn't the greatest for the Bombers all around. Janarian Grant had no room to run. He didn't really make anyone miss. The coverage by the Owls was way better than the blocking by the Bombers. Chandler Worthy had probably a couple better returns than Grant. And then the bad snap on the field goal attempt. You know, altogether the snap, Sheehan trying to grab it, that was a mess. And it could have been critical in a low-scoring game, but luckily it didn't come back to bite them.
Yeah, lucky that ugly throw didn't turn into an interception that went the other way.
That too. Ooh. Take the sack, man.
And, you know, we were talking about Sheehan last week, and this wasn't a particularly good game because I think he also kicked it out of bounds that got the Bombers a penalty twice.
Yeah.
And he also got a time count late in the game. And it might not have been on the punter, but, you know, it's on the quarterback when it's time count. It's on the punter when it's time count when he's on the field. Maybe he wasn't aware. Maybe he didn't see the clocks in the corner. So
yeah,
not a particularly strong game for Sheehan. Still a great punter, young guy learning.
Yeah, for sure. His average was still good, but he's still, you know, those. And the funny thing is too, on that botched field goal, they ended up calling a timeout there for some reason right before it happened. Clock said 0. I don't know if someone messed up and thought, hey, the clock's about to die, let's call timeout. I didn't hear the explanation for it. So that was another mess on the whole special teams thing.
Yeah, I've never understood that, going back to, like, even Bob Cameron as a punter, you knew he had an arm. He was still the Acadian rifle. Even to the last day, you knew that if something went wrong, he still had one in him. But he let go. Sheehan, we know, can't throw. So I don't know if they want to reconsider that. Maybe Prukop, put him back there. Yeah, I don't know. Was
he the holder last year, Prukop?
Wasn't it Drew Brown?
I can't remember, but if it's one of those, I would go back to one of those guys now, you know, in case something like this happens, right?
You have to. So, that was too dangerous. Like, too dangerous. The ugly, can I just say the weather?
Oh, yeah. That was ugly, yes. Yeah, I mean, there's no question it was ugly. Luckily, they got the game in. You know, and it seemed like it tapered off when the game started, but then it picked up again in the second half. So yeah, that was not very good at all.
Any other uglies?
Just to me, the few long bombs that the Bombers DBs gave up when the D line could not get to the quarterback. You know, the
Oh,
Julian Grant one for 69. Austin Mack had a long one too. There was like at least two, maybe three long ones, and both those
yeah.
receivers ended up over 100 in altogether. And yeah, Fajardo only had over 200 yards, just over something like that. So, but to me, the Bombers got to clean those up. They're getting beat on the long ball, and there's been a few attempts. Like even Hamilton tried the long ball on them. You know, Bo Levi just couldn't hit them.
Same as
So
Harris. They got
yeah,
the long
that too.
ball on the
Yeah,
Bombers there too.
yeah,
They've been susceptible. Oh, that word I knew was going to get me. Susceptible to
yeah.
the long ball all year long. And like you said, Julian Grant, 129 yards. What was the other receiver? Mac,
Austin Mack. Yeah,
115.
yeah.
So
Critical fumble though by him too. So
yeah, they got to figure that out.
yeah.
Another ugly, there's got to be a rule against those air horns. Uh, on TV, they're annoying. I can't even imagine what it's like in there. But in the Bomber Stadium, you can't bring something like that in.
Yeah.
That
No, that
and
needs
it's
to go.
remember the vuvuzelas in South Africa for
Oh
the World
yes, I
Cup?
can still hear those things ringing in my ears.
Just like Montreal, I can still
Yeah,
hear that.
exactly.
Like that thing on Dumb and Dumber. What's the most annoying? You want to hear the most annoying sound? I won't do
Yeah,
it, but that is the most annoying sound. So that was ugly. They gotta get rid of that?
they do. They
That
do.
can't be good for trying to grow the game. Like who watches TV? Well, they must be like, what the heck? Sorry.
I totally agree on that one. And I
Any
think
other
most fans around the CFL would agree on that one.
except Montreal, they love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was still loud, and half of them left already. It was raining. Okay.
But that's the thing. How loud is this thing when that stadium was pretty empty because of the rain?
Yeah.
Like, is just someone just sitting by the TV speaker and just freaking or whatever it is and just letting it go? Like,
They're loud, and there's a couple of them now, I think. And it's
ugh,
like, are they like boat caution or like warning or stranded kind of things? It's like it's
yeah.
loud.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I guess you don't need many of them. So
I feel bad with a big cowbell sometimes.
right in someone's ear.
I try not to. You try to do this up
Exactly.
here, and you try to do it down here. Okay. Let's reference an article that we found on Third Down Nation and talk about issues in the CFL, surveys done on Twitter and Reddit to the fans. And there were 8 things that were brought up. Let me just list them quickly in the CFL in regards to growing the game and the CFL failing on some fronts. There's grassroots, technology, stats, we've talked about that, talking about talking, rules and changing and partnerships, XFL not happening, pandemic failures, broadcasts, coaching salary cap, the 10th team, missed opportunity, combine, online, marketing of the game, and bottom line, we just so many suggestions from CFL fans. So any which one do you feel is the one that is most important to the immediate success of the CFL? Long intro. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, no problem. To me, it'd be the grassroots one. And we talked about this one a lot in the past, right? And
Mhm.
just reading this and finding, okay, the NFL and Football Canada have an agreement, right? Together. But whereas the CFL and Football Canada do not, and apparently Football Canada has tried to get some kind of agreement in place, but the CFL leaves it up to each community to build their own fan base kind of thing. So instead of taking a global initiative, that he would rather go and, like the article said, they were more focused on Mexico than trying to grow the game in Canada. So now we got our young kids or teenagers, young adults who are now growing more to the American game instead of focusing on the CFL game. And to me, that's a big flop on the CFL part because once we get older and we no longer go to games anymore, we need the young people to go and to continue this on, right? And to continue the tradition on. So to me, that's a big step. They need to fix that.
Yeah, they've been failing on that front for a good
Yeah.
couple of decades now.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose broadcasts as the best way they can improve this game immediately. We know that live events, attendance, the bloodline of the CFL for so long, those levels are hard to achieve now across whatever entertainment, whatever it is, theater, festivals. Some people just don't want to be out in public anymore. So they really got to amp up that TV broadcast, especially when you're getting smaller exposure on CBS, which is another horrible,
Mm.
horrible decision.
Yeah.
So you still have a lot of people streaming the game and getting the TSN feed. So you want that feed to be good. You want to You know what? Watching the delay in the Bomber game convinced me that they need a pregame in the CFL. They like Kate Burness and Jim Barker, Matt Dunnigan, Milt Stegall, they're just riffing on a rain delay. None of that stuff is prepared, and it
Yeah.
was entertaining, and it had me engaged until I had to leave because of the delay. But any which way, they got to just put more effort into the broadcast. Like
Yeah.
that's what's representing the game, and that's what's growing the game. That's what people are seeing across the world, easily in a second. So come on, put some effort in it. Force TSN to put effort into it.
Yeah. I think it's time for Ambrosi to go, man. There's just
I
been a lot
agree.
of failure in his time that's been here, and the game has not grown. It's funny. I saw something. I can't remember where I read it, that they seem, maybe the CFL and their board is doing this on purpose so that it'll be easier to change rules later on, because people have lost interest in the game. So now it's easier to change the rules and change
Yeah.
anything they want to try and bring fan back or something like that. To me, that would be crazy if that's what they were trying to do. But
Mm.
at this point, Ambrosi has not done anything to grow this game.
Sounds like a genius sport idea.
Yeah, it
And
could be.
to talk about the grassroots thing, it's absolutely ludicrous that the CFL doesn't have a national strategy on attracting new fans. It's it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
On a league that depends on ticket sales, that there is not a national strategy on developing new fans and getting people out to games.
Oh yeah.
Like we listen to these podcasts and all these stuff on YouTube. People have hundreds of ideas how to grow the game, and they're trying none of them.
No, they don't want to listen to anybody else, and that's part of their failure in all this. None of the ideas that they're doing are working. They don't want to listen to the other ideas that some of us or anybody else there out there would have to help grow this game. We've been saying this for a long time, man. You
Yeah,
need young people to come to these games, and you got a lot of new people to Canada. Get them to games as well.
absolutely.
Let them learn what the game is. Give them a free ticket. See what they can. You never know. You give 10 free tickets out, maybe 3 of them will love it, and
Yeah.
then they'll build from there, right? So
And it doesn't look bad on TV.
no, not at all, not at all. Like
Eh,
the Bombers have good crowds, but the upper decks for the most part in the corners are fairly empty.
yeah,
Like, would it really hurt the team if you gave those tickets away and they spent some money on concessions or something like that?
not at all. That's a
So
long-term investment.
yeah,
Give him a
those seats aren't
t-shirt.
being used anyways.
Exactly. Oh
So
my goodness. Come on, CFL. Don't think of us as haters. We just love this league so much. It is frustrating that there doesn't seem to be some kind of strategy to grow the game. It's just
yeah,
well,
and
or else we don't agree with the strategy, growing it globally when you can't even grow it at home.
no, and I'd be interested. I didn't see any numbers yet, but what the attendance was for tonight's game between Toronto and BC.
Yeah.
You got two undefeated teams that have looked, fairly good. BC has looked fairly good so far this season. BC, or Toronto as well for the most part. What were the numbers there in Toronto? Hopefully they got to 20, but
Yeah.
I doubt it. But was it marketed enough that here's a clash of the two undefeated teams in the league?
No, probably not. But you know what? Shout out before we get into the grades of the CFL teams and grades of the CFL Canada Day long weekend and about the Elks. Lots to talk about. Toronto was super loud on that kick return by Javon Leake early in the game.
Good, right
Like
on.
they have such a strong core there. They
Yep.
just need to attract, like, come on, put some effort, Toronto. It's such a market that's necessary. Ugh, sorry, I'm getting angry. Let's talk about the Elks. They're not looking very good right now. You'll give them a grade in a second, but without this, with the CFL ops cap, it's hard to say that Chris Jones is going to be fired. You know what I mean? It's really hard to say that he's going to be fired this year. So beyond that, what do the Elks need to do to get better?
Yeah, like you say, hard to fire Jones. He signed a 4-year deal, I believe, right? So this will only be 2 years into it. So he's got 2 more years at least of getting paid no matter what, and that hits the salary cap. So yeah, it's not an easy solution just to fire Chris Jones. Um, I don't know. Like they brought in player after player, right? Their turnover for the last 2 years has been crazy.
Yeah.
QB hasn't worked out. Betting on Cornelius to be the guy this year was again another part of their downfall this season. And why didn't you bring in a vet? Even say a Dane Evans, who obviously didn't have the greatest season last year, but if you brought in a guy like that to back up Cornelius in case it went wrong, then you have something to back out on, right?
Yeah.
Jared Doge, yeah, I'm probably saying that wrong again.
Yeah.
He's still too young. Trey Ford, what happened to him? At this point, I think you got to give Trey Ford a chance.
Yes.
Firing the OC, the DC, won't fix anything because I don't even think they have the right players. Maybe you can Jones from being the GM or player personnel guy at this point. But
Yeah,
again,
give
you
G. Roy Simon full control.
yeah, I think that's one thing at this point that you possibly can do. G. Simon's already getting paid, so it won't affect your cap really at all. But it
Yeah,
takes something away from Chris Jones, and maybe him focusing just on coaching or whatever will help turn things around a little bit.
they had to play Trey Ford. They
Yeah,
have to. Like, he's a Canadian quarterback. He might attract some people to come to the game, and they just need, he's a better athlete than Cornelius. I'm going to talk about Ottawa in a second, but look what they did with their athletic quarterback in Adams. They just
yeah.
put him in the right position. Didn't put too much on his plate. Of course, they were playing Edmonton, but Edmonton still has a good defense.
Well, until this week,
Well, because the offense couldn't hold on to the ball.
that too.
You know what I'm saying? But like, just put Trey Ford in. It's ridiculous. That's your solution right now.
But will he do well? The old line's not doing very good either. Is Trey Ford just going to run
Uh,
his for his life too? I don't know if any quarterback
yes,
right there is going to do well.
yes, he will be running for his life, but people will want to tune in. I'll watch Edmonton to see Trey Ford.
Yeah,
I want to see this new Canadian, not new Canadian, but I want to see him get his chance again, see what he can do.
yeah. You got to. I think you have to. Yeah.
Unbelievable. How do you grade CFL's Canada Day long weekend?
Again, there was not a lot of,
You
like
know
you
what?
said.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just very upset about it. I'm just gonna give it a grade and get the F out. You can comment. I'm gonna give it a C minus. The games are all right, but the scheduling sucks. When you
Yeah.
should actually have a Thursday night game, you don't schedule one in Toronto. That would have been great for it to have a Thursday night game, and then the TFC could play. And then the Friday night game, of course, got delayed. Still a good matchup. Uh, but why not have that in Winnipeg on Canada Day? Remember when we used to go to the stadium, Canada Day? It was packed.
Yeah.
Go to a strong market like Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, and fill it up so it looks good on TV. Like, were they scared of going toe to toe with the USFL championships? The scheduling of the games are ridiculous. Sorry, I went on too long. That's what I think. The timing's horrible. Today's game should have been an afternoon game too. Just,
It
I'm sounding
was.
like a hater.
I agree. And today's game, I think, should have been yesterday's game, really. Why not do that on a Sunday? Not necessarily everyone had today off. Some people had Friday off. So not everyone had today's. I get it was a night game, but yesterday you could have had an afternoon game or something. Like you say, strong markets. Winnipeg, Saskatchewan probably should have been hosting games this weekend. And why not have all like 4 games going? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What's with the buys? 3 buys this week, this early in the season.
Absolutely.
So I agree. The grade's not there. The CFL again kind of dropped the ball to take advantage of this weekend.
Like, I get it. Toronto, there was a TFC game on Saturday, so you need a day off to switch the field, and then so they play on Monday. So that's why I say, why don't they
Okay.
have a Thursday night game
Yeah.
in Toronto?
Yeah.
Like, we're not schedulers. We don't do this for a living. Do we have to think that hard to figure this out?
No. I mean, you're only scheduling for 9 teams.
Wow. Wow. Are they just putting it in a computer and saying enter and that's it?
I guess it's just some
Yeah.
random crappy but software that just spits it out, and that it's like, yeah, that's it. We're sticking to that. We're not switching anything.
Pretty much, pretty much. And that not a reflection on the quality of the games.
No.
Of course, I enjoyed the Bomber game, tonight's game, BC Toronto, crazy good game. It's just the timing of the scheduling.
Yeah.
Fans, neighbors, friends, put your comments on the schedule of CFL. Did you like it? Canada Day. Should this be more of a featured weekend when they put an effort to actually put it in your comments below? Let's go to team grades. Go ahead.
They could make this around this weekend almost like a kind of like a second Labor Day kind of thing, right? You got Labor Day with all those games, those matchups. Why can't Canada Day weekend be the same? I guess I mean the one thing it doesn't is Canada Day obviously spreads out throughout the week. It doesn't always fall on the weekends kind of thing, right? But it ends up being a long weekend or at some point. So yeah.
And great way to market to the American market.
Yeah.
Like, they have holidays coming up. A lot of people are taking time off. What football are you going to watch? Again, the USFL championship game? Come on. Oh, we love the CFL. Just frustrating. Let's go to team grades. We're going to go not from west to east or east to west. We're going to go west, east, west, east, west, east. So let's start with you, West. Start whatever team with you want.
We talked about them a lot, so we'll start with the Bombers already. Up and down game. Yes, the defense played well, but they gave up a lot of yards. The offense we're hit and miss. A lot of good running. Claros, not a lot of yards, under 200 yards, 15 for 23 or something like that. I'm going to stick with them with a B. It wasn't the cleanest of games, but they ended up getting the win and they ended up getting a bounce back from that beating by BC. So B for the Bombers this week.
Yeah, they left some points out there.
Yeah, I mean, like
Keep it rolling.
the Oliveira turnover deep in Montreal territory, when they were driving the botched field goal we were talking about. So
Yeah.
a lot of mistakes still on the field, but not a lot, I guess. A few mistakes on the field, but hopefully
Well,
they'll clean those up.
I'm going to talk about Montreal then. Winnipeg's opponent. I gave them a D. Fajardo was just sacked 5 times. That is 15 times this year. Turnovers at the worst time. Like they also left points in the field.
Yeah,
Stand back, fumbled the ball. I think when they just crossed the 40-yard line, and Fajardo
yeah,
threw that pick inside the red zone onto their own
yeah.
our Bombers 4-yard line or something like that. They left a lot of points on the field. Uh, so yeah, D. I want to give them an F because of that horn. But anyways, go ahead. I digress.
You want to give out an F? I'll give one out to Edmonton.
Oh,
Again, that O line gave up 4 more sacks. No run game. Jared
Dogie?
Dogie. Good
Doge.
God, I'll get this right one time.
Yeah.
Uh, 19 of 33. That's a lot of passes for a guy playing his first game. One TD, three interceptions. So, and the Elks have given up 14 giveaways after 4 games. You're not going to win very many games. And on D, like we said, the D was playing well. They still gave up 205 yards rushing this week. So the D kind of took a step back. So F for Edmonton.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with their opponent in Ottawa. I gave them a B minus. Congrats to Coach Dice. Breaking
Yeah.
that Ottawa home losing streak. Always gonna cheer on a Winnipegger, the Hawkeye, Bison Bomber coach, and also congrats to Kahari for calling a really good game.
Yeah.
Tyree Adams, 70% passing, 180 on the ground, or 180 in the yard, 30 on the ground. And Tuggle, the running back, put in 126.
Yeah.
And Ottawa defense looked good too. So they've laid a solid foundation if Mazzoli is to return next week.
Yeah. Hopefully you can.
Week 5, we'll see.
Uh,
So I'm going to give Ottawa a B minus.
Let's go into tonight's game, and BC coming off that huge win against the Bombers, riding high, talking about great cups, all this stuff. And then they fell flat on their face today. I'm going to give him a D. Vernon Adams, 6 interceptions. The last one got taken back for a pick 6. The running game wasn't there. Dominic Rhymes he had a decent day, got a touchdown, but kind of kept a little bit in check. And then the D just gave up a bunch of yards and on the ground again to AJ Olette and Chad Kelly. Decent game.
For sure. You know me, I'm a huge Chad Kelly fan. So I'm just grinning ear to ear watching this guy progress because it's fun to watch. And it's fun again to see the Toronto market pretty loud. I'll give Toronto an A. Again, that pick 6 was awesome to watch at the end of the game. Dominic Rhymes got 2 touchdowns. He didn't get
he
as
get
many
2?
yards.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I thought he
that's
only
okay.
had 1. Okay.
No need to apologize. I don't even know. CFL stats might be wrong again.
Yeah, who knows?
But I don't know why. Chad Kelly distributed the ball to 8 different receivers. He made these wicked passes like on the move across his body, probably trying to impress Uncle Jim in the stands there. 79% passing, 249, no turnovers. Toronto looked good. And their defense played good, but Vernon Adams, we talk about the good and the bad, the inconsistency, and here it is again. And this was really bad in a big game. Like we just like, oh, he played great against the Bombers, but maybe this is a reflection of how good Toronto is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it is because we all know Vernon Adams from years past, right?
Yeah.
He has games like today, maybe not 6 interception games, but he'll show up and majority of his games will be half of like what today was, right? Last week was like, ooh, maybe he turned the page, right?
Yeah.
But last week his guys were open like crazy, and Bombers. There was a couple of dropped interceptions last week by the Bombers. D, I thought, or I'm thinking, or it was the other game I'm thinking. But yeah, Vernon Adams, he has to clean that up, especially if you want to take BC seriously as a Grey Cup contender.
That was a big step back.
Yeah.
CFL fans, put your thoughts in the comments below. Winnipeg Jets talk. On a scale of 1 to 10, how is Chevy's offseason going so far? You want to go first?
You go first.
I'll go first. I'll give Cheveldayoff. I call him Tim Cheveldayoff.
Tim Cheveldayoff.
That's not even right.
It's Tim Chevelday, anyways, right?
It's close, and I knew I'd do it one day. I'm surprised it lasted this long, past 100 episodes without saying it. Actually, we should go back and check.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was about to give a prize for someone who could find that, but I got no prize. I'll give Cheveldayoff an 8.3 out of 10 so far on his offseason. I really like the PLD trade, getting three NHL ready forwards, and I really like Iafalo's attitude that he's under the impression that he's here to win a cup. That's really good. They locked down Axel Johnson.
Yeah.
I really liked him as a contributor, even if it's just depth. They got to keep Nemestikov, and I really like them signing Brossois. So 8.3 out of 10 so far for Ray.
Hopefully Brossois can stay healthy enough, though up and down season with injuries last year, right, with Vegas. So that's a big if. But they also signed that Colin Delilah, right?
Yeah.
So to a smaller contract. So I guess you got, a third guy there that can step in case Brossois, or maybe they're the one too. Who knows what goes on with Hellebuyck. I'm going to give Chevy a 7 right now. I do like the trade. I don't know if it's going to make the Jets better or not. We'll see how those guys fit in. I do like that they brought back Nemestikov. They ended up getting something in a trade for Leon Gonki, who had basically left the Jets to go to Germany.
Yeah.
On D, there's still a logjam there. They have to figure something out. You got your 6 guys from last year, but then you also have Chisholm, and Heinola and Stanley, I guess. That you got to kind of figure something out. So he's got some work to do. We'll see what happens with Hellebuyck and Scheifele. Maybe he can convince Hellebuyck to stick around. Maybe even Scheifele. Who knows? But yeah, not bad start for him so far. And the free agent market, the Jets never dip in too crazy in that anyways. And I'm not too concerned or worried about them not signing some of these bigger name guys at all.
Maybe it's not just Scheifele convincing Helly to stay. Maybe signing Brossois is just a familiarity thing, a feel to when he had one of his. Was Brossois the backup when he won the Vezina? Pretty sure he was.
Yeah, he probably was, because he's been in Vegas for at least a couple of years now, right?
So maybe it's just the feel of the room. He got his friend back. He got his boy back.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a convincing thing.
Yeah.
Shoot. If so, that's great. And also a decent draft.
Yeah,
that Barlow guy was good, and that goalie they got from Vancouver,
Thomas Milic.
Yes.
Seattle.
Seattle, yes. Sorry, yeah. Seattle. Yeah, thank you.
Close enough.
Yeah, West Coast. So pretty good. Pretty good there.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of it shapes out, but not bad. I think they're probably in the same position they were last year, team-wise and roster-wise, and battling for a playoff spot, maybe.
Yep. Biggest NHL free agency so far?
It's hard to say. When you look at it, there's not a lot of big names. I mean, there's still big names out there that haven't signed, like Tarasenko, Kane, and all that stuff. And a lot of the guys that were signed, there was not crazy names out there. To me, I might just pick Tyler Bertuzzi signing with the Leafs for a 1-year deal. Getting $5.5 mil for that 1 year. But he's a good signing that could fill out the wings for that team and maybe play on the top line with Matthews and Marner or something and add that grit and strength that they might need up there. So Tyler Bertuzzi for me.
It's got to be Ryan Reeves. Are you crazy? It's got to be Ryan Reeves. They're going to win the cup, and I'm going to wear that jersey again. You got a shout out?
Can I just ask, why do you need to sign him for 3 years at 1.35, Toronto? Like, Toronto made some good moves, but they also made some head scratchers. So
they always do.
Yeah.
You got a shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Blake Wheeler, man. And I know things didn't probably end off on great terms between Blake Wheeler and the fans and all that stuff, but the guy gave his all on the ice every time he stepped out there. He was great in the community in Winnipeg and all that. He signed a long-term deal here to stick around in Winnipeg, so may not have ended well, but props to him and shout out to Blake Wheeler and good luck to him in New York with the Rangers.
Symbolically, it is the last tie to the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah, that's it. Might not be a bad thing. We'll see.
You have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget, subscribe, follow, and see you later this week.
And in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Denny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.